See, many believe, myself included, that the tears Paul remembers here were the tears of Timothy as Paul left him there in Ephesus. This would have been a few years prior, and as Timothy would have been along with Paul, and he would have said, hey, I want you to stay here in Ephesus. You're the guy, you're the pastor, you lead these people. Timothy, he broke down. He was sad to see his spiritual father go. And though Timothy was the man that God had called to pastor there in Ephesus, and Paul knew that, he was not like Paul. Timothy, we've already discussed and we'll continue to see, he was a timid man. He was a sensitive guy. He had frequent infirmities, we remember. And as such, he was not this strong apostle like what we see with the Apostle Paul, right? Like as you read the Apostle Paul and about his life there in the book of Acts especially, he's consistently moving about, following the Lord, and at times going toe-to-toe, head-to-head with religious leaders and cults that were seeking to put him away. Like he's a strong dude. The Apostle Paul was a strong man spiritually. And Timothy was not that man. He was not the same as the Apostle Paul. He was strong in his own right, yes, but Timothy was a mild man with frequent infirmities and insecurities. He was sensitive and mild-mannered, and he was a man who would have been prone to cry and needed some encouragement. And I love that Paul focused on that. He was mindful. You know, it could have been easy for Paul as he was there in that prison to become hardened towards the Lord and towards Timothy. You know, he could have heard about what Timothy was going through and thought to himself, yeah, I hear it. I'm sorry, Timothy. You got someone that comes to you, doesn't like the message you taught last Sunday. Poor Timothy. You know, he could have been that. He could have been, oh, poor Timothy. You know, you're up against false teachers. You remember that one time I got stoned to death and then got back up and went into the city again? Hey, you remember that, bro? He could have had all that. He could have been hardened towards Timothy, but yet he remembered Timothy's tears. And instead of focusing on the hardness of his situation, he looked and said, I'm going to continue to pray for you. I'm going to continue to pray for you. And though he probably couldn't empathize, he could certainly recognize and sympathize. And he could encourage Timothy. What was going to be a large part of this letter as we study it, we're going to see that Paul, he didn't harden his heart. He wasn't angry. He wasn't upset. He wasn't comparing wounds. No, he was like, I remember your tears. I know what you need. I know the encouragement that you need to go and move forward. So I'm going to write that.